Video today. We're back again. We're getting a little something different. We are back from I think another video from Toxic Threads. This one is called Rotten.com, the most disturbing website in internet history. Now, I don't know what this is gonna be about, but I think I know what this is gonna be about. I'm not totally sure, but we're just going to get into the video because I'm kind of excited to see what this is about. I'm a little intrigued. I'm not even going to lie to you. And also, let me go ahead and delete this folder real quick, because this might be the reason why some of my videos, after I've been done recording, they're not really showing up. So I really just want to get this out of the way real quick. Alright, let's get into the video. Not even gonna lie.
Rotten.com was the most disturbing website in the history of the internet. Just ask the grieving father who opened an anonymously sent email to find photos of his daughter right after she died in a catastrophic car crash with the caption, "Woohoo, Daddy. Hey, Daddy, I'm still alive." That was Nikki's father, and that email was only the beginning. Because what rotten culture put this family through didn't stop at one email. It would go on to reshape how he, his wife, and his daughters survived and moved through the world. We'll come back to Nikki and her family, but first, we need to understand how Rotten.com began. It all started in late 1996, when a former software engineer named Thomas Dell wrote a program to scan for unclaimed dictionary words available as domain names. Rotten came up. He paid $100 for it, and wasn't entirely sure what to do with it. Dell had always been drawn to the macabre. He'd spent years collecting strange and disturbing books and images, long before he had the internet as a platform. When the domain landed in his hands, he decided to upload what he called joke pictures, turning the site into an extension of his morbid hobby. The twisted joke found an audience that kept coming back, and somewhere in that feedback loop, Dell, now going by Soylent, saw potential and leaned in. Rotten.com became an archive unlike anything the internet had produced before. You could go there and see the most horrible car crashes, suicides, crime scene photographs, medical anomalies, and autopsy footage. These were images that had always been locked inside evidence rooms. They had never before been placed somewhere that anyone could reach in 30 seconds. Soylent framed all of it as a public service.
So it's basically like if you go on Reddit and you trying to look for... So y'all know how some people, they'll have that thing where they're a little too curious and they'll search for pictures of celebrities after they died. That's basically what that is. And people will literally find it in these facilities and they'll post it online. They will get it somewhere they get it.
This content existed, whether or not his site did, and that choosing not to look at it was a choice everyone could make for themselves. He also argued that censoring the internet was impractical, unethical, and wrong. He would always talk about his website as an act of revolution against censorship, and the ultimate digital home for practicing the First Amendment. What he actually built was a gallery of human misery, dressed up as a political statement. The design of the website was intentionally bare. White background, black text, and a list of links with titles like cab driver, bad face, don't gawk. No descriptions or context. Just a title you clicked, knowing it would probably take you somewhere stomach-turning. And that was the entire point. Early visitors described how the dial-up connection made it worse, or better, depending on your perspective. The image loaded line by line, slowly. The suspense was built into the infrastructure. By the time the picture finished loading, you were already committed to whatever you were about to see. Millions of people made that choice voluntarily, and Soylent was behind his screen, watching the numbers go up. For its first year, Rotten.com was just this obscure website.
You wanna know what's crazy?
That
he probably was dead ass making money off that shit too. Like, I'm so serious, bro. I don't know if he was or wasn't, but he had to be making money off of that. You can make a little bit of cheese off that shit, or like a lot of it. I'm not.
Some people with strange tastes visited. A small, dedicated audience of people who
saw $1
submitted content via email and kept coming back. it wasn't mainstream, as it should have stayed. Then, in 1997, an image was posted under the title Death of a Princess. It showed a badly damaged car, a blonde female victim among the wreckage, and it was alleged to be Princess Diana's corpse. The image spread fast. A French newspaper ran it on its front page. A news database linked it directly to Rotten.com, describing it as a fan page with the crash photo. Even Howard Stern discovered Rotten.com through the Diana image. He was impressed by the website and praised it on air. Within a short period, traffic climbed from around 4,500 visitors a day to 50,000. By 2001, that number had reached 200,000 daily visitors in an era when only 18% of American homes had an internet connection at all. But soon after the image went viral, French internet users pointed out that the firefighters in the image weren't wearing official Paris uniforms, and the emergency number on the fire truck was wrong. The photo had nothing to do with Diana. It was a different crash entirely, and whether Soylent intended it as a hoax or not, the image was removed from the website and replaced with a post arguing that Rotten.com never claimed the image was genuine. Rotten now had the attention of both avid supporters, who praised it as a stand against censorship, and enraged critics who believed Soylent was doing the devil's work through Rotten.com. And though discussing the limits of free speech is a conversation worth having, the people who had no interest in that conversation were the ones whose loved ones ended up on Rotten.com without their consent. A grieving family contacted Rotten after recognizing a photograph of their nephew, a young man whose head had been set by a train. The image had been posted under the title Loser Meets Train. A cease and desist letter was sent to Soylent, who turned it into content. He replaced the photograph with an image of the letter itself, alongside a caption that described the removed image insensitively, and claimed it was difficult to identify the victim. He then suggested the photo had probably come from Mexico, and therefore probably wasn't of the man they thought. Beneath all of that, he added a comment implying that the real issue was how publicly their nephew had done. A separate cease and desist came from a woman whose photograph had been posted in a section of the site called of the Month. After her lawyers became involved, the image was eventually removed, but not before Rotten published a response suggesting she was probably just a lookalike and that the image was not actually of her. This was the operating principle. Legal pressure could eventually force Soylent's hand, but no amount of human dignity or grief was ever going to move him. It wasn't only families and individuals who sent cease and desists to Rotten, but also corporations. In 1999, 2 students walked into Columbine High School in Colorado and open-fired. Media coverage said that the shooters were part of a group that called themselves Trenchcoat Mafia. Shortly after the news spread, Soylent bought the URL trenchcoat.org and redirected anyone who clicked it straight to the Burlington Coat Factory website. The company's legal team sent a cease and desist letter demanding that the redirect be taken down. Soylent also pulled the same move with Mattel, the toy company behind Barbie and Rock'em Sock'em Robots. He registered a misspelled version of Mattel's domain with an extra L, close enough that anyone typing too fast would land on it by accident, and redirected it to Rotten.
So he's getting money hungry. That's what's happening. Because he's not just doing this for no reason. He's doing it because he's getting some cheese out of the shit. That's what I say.
Thousands of people searching for a children's toy company ended up inside an archive of crash victims and autopsy photographs instead. Mattel's lawyers sent their own cease and desist. Soylent posted both letters sent by Burlington Coat Factory and Mattel as a joke to the Rotten community. These corporate letters were trophies, evidence that the website was rattling the right people and that corporations were scared. They thought they were sticking it to the man, and that Soylent was a free speech hero. But Soylent, who was lecturing the world about censorship and civil liberties, was also running a Rotten.com store, where fans could buy Rotten.com t-shirts, mousepads, stickers, magnets, and gruesome DVDs
all the hood niggas
of
gonna have
people
that shit
suffering.
That shit gonna hit like, bro, that shit is gonna hit like G-Shock in the hood, man.
Rotten wasn't a revolution. It was a marketing strategy. The difference between Rotten and the corporations they publicly humiliated wasn't principle. It was branding. In 2001, a British newspaper published a story claiming that both Scotland Yard and the FBI were investigating Rotten.com over an image that appeared to show a man eating a baby. The article also linked the website to the ritual abuse of children. Soylent published a response stating that no law enforcement agency from any country had actually contacted him, and that the image was not of a real child, but part of a conceptual art series by Chinese artist Zhu Yu, titled Eaten People. He also wrote that even if the image was real, it should not matter, since no American law prohibited publishing it. He said the fact that someone at Scotland Yard disliked the image was not his concern, but he was clear that what bothered him was being accused of being linked with the ritual abuse of children, not the possibility that the images themselves might be real. Whether those investigations were real was never confirmed, but the image stayed up anyway. To understand why Rotten.com was so popular, you have to understand that era of the internet. The web had only opened to the public in the early 1990s. In its first years, it was essentially an infant, new, unformed, and fascinating, mostly to the people who had created it. By the mid-90s, it had become a toddler, clumsy, and fast-growing. The Communications Decency Act of 1996, the same law Soylent cited as justification for building Rotten in the first place, was essentially society's first attempt to put a child-proof lock on the internet. It was struck down almost immediately by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional. By the time Rotten.com was booming, the internet had hit adolescence, and it was testing every boundary it could find, convinced that provocation and freedom were the same thing. This was also the era of jackass, punk, and skate culture going mainstream. The anti-censorship movement of the early web wore that attitude like a badge. People behaved like egocentric, trollish teenagers, chasing shock value and entertainment without thinking about the real human beings affected by it. And with that, shock content became a genre. Soylent had the infrastructure that made it possible at scale, and the internet was never quite the same after. He didn't just normalize the consumption of human tragedy, he monetized it, packaged it, and shipped it in branded boxes. And it was exactly this culture that was waiting when Nikki's photographs hit the internet. Which brings us back to the grieving father opening that email. Nikki died on October 31st, 2001. She was 18 years old. She had taken her father's Porsche without permission and crashed it. The collision was so severe that the coroner would not allow her parents to view the body. Highway patrol officers photographed the scene as part of standard procedure. 9 of those photographs were later leaked, eventually traced back to 2 dispatchers who had forwarded them. From there, the images moved through the exact cultural infrastructure Rotten.com had spent a decade building and popularizing. They ended up on sites, shock forums, and image boards. The family received anonymous emails and text messages containing the photographs. Strangers created fake MySpace pages in Nikki's name, filled with comments like, "That spoiled rich girl deserved it," and "It's a waste of a Porsche." Eventually, Nikki became known online as Porsche Girl, a meme with its own Know Your Meme page, treating an 18-year-old's death as a cultural reference point. The family hired lawyers, sent cease and desist letters, engaged a reputation management firm to suppress and bury the images, but the efforts failed because the images continued to be reposted for years.
Damn.
They homeschooled their daughters, who almost entirely stopped using the internet. Their sister's death had become entertainment, and they couldn't risk stumbling across her face, used as a punchline at any moment. This culture of detached cruelty, the willingness to turn real human suffering into content, was exactly what Rotten.com helped normalize. By 2012, the site had simply stopped updating, and by 2017, it had quietly gone offline. Not taken down by a court order, just done. The internet eventually grew up. Mostly. But the culture that Rotten mainstreamed, that suffering is content, that dignity is optional, that you can stand at a podium about freedom while selling footage of people dying, that never fully went away. It just found new addresses.
That's crazy. Well, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. That's the end of the video. I hope y'all enjoyed. or whatever. I don't think I did. That was kind of depressing. They really sent that man his daughter. Bro, you know how traumatizing that gotta be. I don't think they ever got over there either. That's literally their daughter, bro. Fuck. That's bad. But anyways, y'all stay safe out there. As I tell y'all all the time, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff going on out there actually. So all you can do is stay safe. You know what I'm saying? Um, we all gonna die eventually anyway, so it's like there's no point in me making y'all avoid shit and all that. If you get that gut feeling to not, go a certain place or to not take a certain route or to not do something that you know you're not supposed to be doing, bro, just don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because most of the times, it's God telling you, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. God can speak to you different ways, man. Y'all gotta understand that. I understand that fully now. You know what I'm saying? So, I listen to my gut for real. But I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Yeah, stay safe out there. We out. We dipping. I catch y'all another time. It's your boy Mo. We out.